Hey, and good afternoon. This is Angela Brown, and I'm here today with James Copeland. And I am super excited about today's show because we've got so many interesting things happening today. James is the Director of Technical Services at Prism Specialties, and he's going to help us unpack appliances and how to keep them clean and how to make sure that they're in working order. Now, this is a really, really interesting niche, and I cannot tell you how excited I am today to hear from a specialist about appliances because I get a lot of questions and we do it the best we can as cleaners, but from somebody who has the technical know-how, that's a whole different ballgame. So please help me welcome James Copeland. Yay. I'm so glad you're
Thank
here today.
thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I want to go back to something that you said earlier about reading the safety data sheets. The safety data sheet by the globally harmonized system has 16 different sections, and it will tell you in section one what the product is, and they will give you the information on the manufacturer. So there's a phone number right there in section one. It's the very first section in the safety data sheet, and it's all across the board now. And so if you're not sure, get the safety data sheet. It's always available online. You just do SDS, which is shortened for safety data sheet, and then the name of whatever it is that you're trying to use as far as the cleaning chemical. And it will tell you if it's safe to use. And the reason this is really important is because there are a lot of people that try to take shortcuts. They're like, oh, I have a stove and I'm using oven cleaner to clean the inside of my oven. Can I just spray this on the outside of my oven? Because if it's good for the inside, it must be good for the outside, right? And they make guesses. And when they do that, they're not paying attention to my stove is right next to my granite counter, which is right next to my wooden cabinets. And they go spraying the oven cleaner and it gets in other places that now it's damaged those other surfaces. And if you are a professional, I want to caution you on one thing and be very clear about this. You might have insurance, and good for you if you do. However, here's the caveat. If you're using an oven cleaner, for example, and you're using it on something other than the inside of the oven for which it's intended, that chemical is inside your care, custody, and control, which means you know what you're doing and you know how to use it. And so if you file a claim for granite countertops or wooden cabinets that you've damaged, or if it's the top of a stove top, which is the exterior that doesn't have the same enamel that the inside of the oven does, your insurance company is not going to cover the claim. And so if you're experimenting on customers' appliances, you did not read the manual, you do not know what you're doing, and you will be replacing it out of your own pocket. So I
Absolutely.
do want to caution you on that, which I cannot emphasize enough. If you're not 100% sure, pause, tell the customer that you will research their really expensive top end of the world appliance, and you will get back with them and do not experiment on their appliances if you're not sure. Do not. It's okay to say, I don't know. I've never seen a Sub-Zero fridge or stove or whatever it is. I've never seen this brand before. Do you mind if I hold off on today's cleaning until I can research it and clean it properly? I'd hate to damage it. And I don't know any customer that spent a fortune on their appliances. It's going to go, nah, just go ahead and experiment. I'm cool with that. They will never do that.
That's absolutely true. I've been a part of claims where claims were negated because of care, custody, and control. They allowed it to sit too long without it being properly mitigated, thereby degrading the surfaces. And yeah, their claim was negated. They had to pay out of pocket.
Talking about stoves and appliances, though, what is the difference between gas and electric when it comes to cleaning? Because the products are different, or are they the same?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously, anytime you clean an appliance where you're getting in deep, disconnect the power, make sure that it's not going to turn on. Because if you're wiping something and you inadvertently hit a knob and turn it on, you might be spewing gas and might ignite a flame in your arms over it, or you turn on an element. So always unplug and disconnect the utilities. Gas is a bit more extensive in the clean because you got grates, you have burner caps, burner heads, and all these things need to be pulled off and cleaned in soapy water. That's where you want to be really careful on what you use because some of the burner heads are aluminum, and most commercial grade oven cleaners, I know Oven Bright, Bonzi is another commercial grade cleaner with Georgia Chemical Company that'll actually discolor and in some cases melt the aluminum. Even baking soda has a negative effect to aluminum. So air caution on that. So when you clean those, it's about elbow grease and dish soap, So you're going to be pulling a lot of those off. You never want to use a rag that's dripping wet in any case, because you can get into electrical components. You can get it into the crevices that go down into the insulation. If insulation gets wet, if it gets real wet, it can start to develop mold, So you want to air caution on that and use wet rags, but not dripping wet. So when you clean a gas range, those are the components going to come off. So you got more removable parts that you're cleaning versus an induction or a flat top like mine. I'm going to use distilled water, wipe it. If I lived in southern Indiana, their water was so hard down there, it was just destroying some of the dry cleaning machines. So when you use that, you could be leaving residues of minerals and buildup, especially if you use it in an oven to use a steam to clean it, like an easy clean, and you pour water in the bottom of the oven. It can leave that mineral deposit behind once it's dried and is evaporated, and you're just gonna have this film behind. So I would say if you're gonna ever clean with water, use filtered tap water using a pure filter or something like that, or bottled water, refraining from any type of water that could have minerals in it, spring water, things like that. So if you use water that has less minerals, that's great for cleaning because you don't get that residual after it's dry and gone.
I'm so glad that you brought up all of those tips. One of the tips that I want to hang on to, and this is really important, and I think this is true for all of the electrical appliances, is, and this is one of our 10 tips of the day, is if you're cleaning an electrical appliance, please unplug it before you start doing any of the heavy duty cleaning. And this is because we want to make sure that it doesn't come on automatically because we don't want any weird things happening. Can you talk to us for a second about self cleaning ovens? That is something that I've personally had some issues with, where the builders built them into cabinets that were so close to the cabinets that when they heated up to that high temperatures, it caught the cabinets on fire. And now we have house fires in the kitchens.
So that's a great point. I'm just going to be honest and transparent. I'm not a fan of self cleaning. Self cleaning will take that appliance to like 900 degrees. So it's like sitting in your car in park, putting your foot on the gas and watching that RPM go up and just, well, you're running it, you're running it. It's the same thing with your oven. And interestingly enough, what you're cooking off, the fumes that are produced. Anytime you get a new oven, right, you heat it up, you can actually smell the paint and the materials and the oils that they use in the manufacturing process coming off. Well, we never get it totally hot enough to get even more of that out. And plus, the cooked on things that we have, when we heat it up to 900 degrees, it's taken all its components to the highest parameter that it can withstand. And we're pushing the limits. And then, like you said, the sides are going to get hot. And depending on the manufacturer and the quality of it, it might not have as much insulation. So the fumes that are coming off, they're going to tell you, if you read manuals, take birds out of the area, remove them from the room, open all the doors, all the windows. That's red flags for me. You don't want kids or pets around because they can walk by, brush it, and get burnt. So I don't like the self cleaning function because of that, because of the risk. Because I know through normal spot checks, cleaning weekly, cleaning after every use, I don't have to use those aggressive techniques, methods, and all that in order to clean my oven so I can cook a pizza or I can cook a pie. Those are two things that continually boil over. So I would say if you want to reduce that, get a silicone mat. They make silicone mats that go in there. They go up to about 500 degrees. You're perfectly fine putting it in there, and it makes cleanup easy. But if you do get some spillage over, before you heat it up the next time and fill your house up with all these soot molecules, that's what it is. It's soot molecules. It's taking this food and just heating it up and it's dispersing everywhere. You can use some plastic scrapers. These razor blades, there's plastic razor blades as well. They sell them in kits where you have one handle is a razor and the other is a plastic. Those are great. And if you may not want to go in and just start using elbow grease and scraping it off, I would make a baking soda paste and just hit that one spot, let it sit for a little bit, and then scrape it off and then wipe it with the rags, as we've already discussed. If you have aluminum, you decide to put aluminum on the bottom and you peel it off and you got little chunks staying back. Use some dish soap, a few squirts in a cup, pour it in there. Typically, it'll have a cavity. You don't want it to go over enough that it drips into the lower pan or into any crevices, but you can put it in there and let it rest a little bit, let it start to dissolve that, and you can typically scrape it right off with a plastic scraper.
I love that. Thank you for that. Our time is up, and I knew this would happen. I have learned so much. This has been so incredibly helpful. James, please tell our listeners where they can go to find you, learn more about you.
Absolutely. So my email, I'm always monitoring that. It's james.copeland at prismspecialties.com. Feel free to email me. As I said, I'm constantly monitoring it. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have. I'm happy to help the masses.
Well, thank you so much. And also, I'm going to leave links in the notes below to James' website as well as his email address. I really appreciate you guys joining us. And James, I appreciate your time and attention today. You have been immensely helpful as we move through the new year to take care of the appliances that we've invested so much in. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much for today.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you and Happy New Year to all of you as well.